Are you searching for new patch ideas on your musical journey? Then this video might help you. What's up everyone, Jonas here for Thomann synthesizers. As some of you might know by now already, I'm a big fan and enthusiast of modular synthesis. But of course I had my ups and downs on my journey, so I'm always searching for new ideas, create different stuff than before. I think Modular and Eurorack is really subjective on what you want to create. Some of us just use it as, let's say, an outboard effect pedal, or perhaps to create really beautiful melodies, or as a drum machine. So the purpose of a modular can be endlessly. Personally, I do get stuck sometimes because most of the times it's just muscle memory and I do the patches I always do kind of. So it's a kind of hate-love relationship, a really expensive one to be honest. But nevertheless, it's a huge amount of fun creating music with Modular. And without it, I actually wouldn't know how to create a lot of things that I do for my music. Personally, I use Modular to create unexpected and weird stuff. And in this video, I will show you some patches I had a lot of fun working with the last weeks. One thing I like to do to thicken up sounds is oscillator syncing. And for this, you need two VCOs. For this patch, I'm using the Atlantis and the black VCO. You only have to get at least one oscillator with the sync option. And I'm using the black VCO to sync it. So let's have a listen to the individual outputs of the pulse waves. And from the Atlantis, and we see they are completely detuned from each other. We will use another output of the Atlantis to sync it to the black VCO. And we have a completely new sound, a new thicker waveform than before. This is just one. And now if we tune the second oscillator, you see we still have a synced behavior. Let's spice this a little bit up, and I'm using the FX8, and let's use an LFO assigned to the frequency modulation input. Next up, let's use Gliss, which is a beautiful small module which is able to detect movements and pressure. So it's able to send out pressure informations and touch informations on trigger. And with this, we are able to create beautiful melodies which are kind of humanized, let's say, but also LFOs, and it's a really nice modulation source. As mentioned, I'm a big fan of weird stuff because actually a big part of my music is about chords and melodies, and I think it's really important to put some contrast to it. And for this I'm using harsh noises and kind of weird stuff, and this I'm creating with feedbacks. I like to use the mimeophone, but also the reverb, but make noise is pretty nice. And up here I can increase the repeats, which is the feedback, but be careful, this can be really loud as we're working with double the volume when we feed it back. So now the tone is rising, and I'm taking the doubled output and feed it back. And I'm using an LFO. Up next I will clock it to the tremolo. And we are able to create really interesting rhythms. Now I can take the output again and use it to modulate the color maybe. So it gets a little bit more random. What also is really nice is to use noise in this patch. I guess everyone who uses Modular knows the feeling of buying more and more and more, but actually that's not always helpful to create better tracks, and that's why I always like to check out modules in itself and self-patch them. Here I'm using the Form S spectral multiband resonator to colorize a drum loop or turn a drum loop into a more musical theme, let's say. And this is the plain drums. And now I'm sending it to the Form S, which has different bands. So you can scroll through it, and now I'm increasing the resonance to have some pings we are triggering. And now I'm using other output of the Form S to give it to the other input, so feeding it back actually. And I'm using again the basic loop to trigger the rotation of the Form S. So sometimes you actually don't need much to change things or create variations, because feeding itself or self-patching and using the sample itself as a modulation source can be really, really interesting. Self-patching function generators is really fun in my opinion, because those modules, as the name suggests, have multiple functions, so you can do and try various stuff. Especially those with an end-of-cycle signal are very interesting, because through this you are able to trigger different stuff. So let's check it out. Here we have Rampage by Befacco, which is entirely self-pitched with additional 2 LFOs coming from the zone here. As you can see, I use the end of cycle to trigger the first one, and also the end of cycle to trigger the right one. And the LFOs are assigned to different CVs. So remember, this is not an oscillator in itself, so I think this is really interesting to use different modules for different purposes. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts and questions, then please share it in the comment section and we will get back to you. So thanks for watching, and until next time.